You know, I think the fan base has actually finally been rejuvenated. I think the fan base actually has real hope for the first time in a long time. It's been a long 2 years, a long 2 years, and I think the fan base legitimately actually has a reason to be happy from a legitimate standpoint. And I think that we really do have an actual general manager. What's up, YouTube? Your boy back once again with another sport topic, and today we're going to talk some football. Houston, Texas football. We're going to talk about this NFL draft because, like I just said, I think the fan base really has a real reason to be happy. And I know my voice, excuse me, I got see my voice is a little bit low. Like I said, I've been hollering, screaming all weekend from a good standpoint, so my voice is gone. But we're gonna talk about the NFL draft because there's a lot to talk about. We're gonna break down before we do that. Hey, if you liking the content, if you liking the channel, make sure that you're subscribing to the channel, you're liking the channel, you're liking the videos, you comment on the videos, you're sharing the videos on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, any social media platform you use, make sure you're sharing it on there. Also follow me on social media. The links in the description below. Click them links in the description below. We giving away 30 days free Amazon Prime. If you sign up to Amazon Prime, you get 30 days free. My social media is on there, so follow me on all the social media platforms. Share this on social media. Hey, let's get the channel growing because it's a good time to be a Texas fan right now. It really is because Nick Caserio is doing the thing. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I know I've had my doubts and my reservations about some of the free agency moves. Well, really not free agency moves. I kind of knew what he was doing with the free agency, but kind of like the coaching decisions and the Jack Easter being just what we've been dealing with as a Texan fan base for the past couple years. And finally, this right here might be one of the best drafts I've ever seen from the Houston Texans standpoint. I was extremely excited going up to this draft. One, because we had high draft picks, we had high draft capital. It was talent in the draft, and just a whole bunch of things to be excited about. And I I was happy for it, but because that kind of doubt come in, like, oh, but will the Texans do Texan things and mess it up? And they didn't. They really didn't. I mean, the first pick, third overall pick, he goes after and gets Darius Stingley Jr. I've been trying to tell people this for the longest. That Nick Caserio and the Texans, Nick Caserio comes from a Patriot style of play. He comes from the Patriot organization. They target cornerbacks and DBs more than pass rushers. They do not value pass rushers in New England. That's the reason why every time a pass rusher comes up for a new contract, they let him go. But they go out there and they pay. They trade for Stephon Gilmore and pay for him. They go out there and trade for Harrison from the Chargers. They go out there and pay and acquire Darrell Revis and Brandon Brown, and also go out there and acquire Akeem Talib. Back in the day, they go out and get Ty Lawson. Even though I know J.C. Jackson and both Malcolm Butler were undrafted free agents, but they invest in the secondary. They do. They invest in the secondary and they pass rushers. They let their pass rushers go. So I knew that they would value secondary more so than pass rushers. A lot of people at the time about getting Kayvon Thibodeau and Aiden Hudson. One, Kayvon Thibodeau, they was never interested in Kayvon Thibodeau because he did not fit the defense. He just not fit what Lovey wants to do. Now, Aiden Hudson, on the other hand, kind of would fit the defense. But I didn't think they were going to go after him. Could they go after Evan Neal? Could they go after Ike Ekwonu? They could have. They could have. That could have been the play. But I knew the best decision was going to either go out to be Sauce, Darius Stingley, or Kyle Hamilton. Y'all know I had Kyle Hamilton rated as the highest graded player on my board, and I actually had Sauce as the highest corner. But I have no issue with them taking Darius Stingley because he's the most talented of those three. Even though I know Kyle Hamilton's a corner, as a safety. He's the most talented, the actual most natural talented guy who was 19 years old on the LSU team. They ended up winning the national championship. He was the best player on that defense. And if he could come out that year, he would have probably been the number one overall pick, or the very least the number two overall pick in that draft. Because you see, after 2 years of not playing the full season, he ended up being number three. He's the best corner from a physical standpoint, from an athletic standpoint. He was the best corner in this draft. Guy who ran a 4.37, just a tremendous talent, and a guy who I think is going to be a perennial Pro Bowler for Houston Texans. Nick Caserio did a great job with that. Then he go with the second pick and he go get Kenyon Green. Now we traded back from 13 to 15, I was a little annoyed because I really, really wanted Kyle Hamilton. Like I said, he was the highest rated guy on my board, and Baltimore took Kyle Hamilton at 14. But I'm under the belief, even if Kyle Hamilton would have failed at 15, the Texans still would have took him. Nick Caserio went out there and drafted Kenyon Green, guard at Texas A&M. And I'm not a huge study about offensive linemen, but when you watch him, he's a big guy. He's a big, massive plug, and somebody who we need as a guard position. That way, we can stop playing this pancake game. We'll come with Tyus Howard, putting him at guard, and putting him at center, and putting him at let Tyus Howard play tackle, let Larry Tunsil play the other tackle, and you put Keon Green as the I think the right guard, and let's go from there. Let's help build this offensive line going forward. Let's put some hogs in front of Davis Mills, whoever is the future quarterback for the Houston Texans. That way we have some type of protection when it comes to this team. So I like that pick. Then the second round, you go out there and you go out there with your first pick in the second round. You go out there and you draft Jalen Pitre. And I think it was a tremendous pick. I was extreme. That's probably the pick I lost my voice that I screamed the most, because even though I wanted Kyle Hamilton, the simple fact that they targeted another safety, a guy who was a hybrid safety at Baylor, a guy who could play linebacker, a guy who's lightning quick, a guy who's a good tackler, just a physical, another guy who's a physical specimen. I'm just excited about that because that helps the secondary out a lot. Something that the Texan defense has needed for years is helping the secondary. And when you see that type of condition, him and Derek Stingley also both played 7-on-7 ball back in the day, so they have a relationship. I think they could be a cornerback safety tandem for years to come, and I like that move. I like that target. Then he trades back. You know how he traded from 13 to 15. And acquired some picks. I knew that he acquired some third round picks. I knew he wasn't going to use those third round picks. And he used those third round capital to jump back up into the second round to get John Metchie, the receiver out of Alabama. And I think this means two things. One, it's a reliable receiver. Now, I know he's coming off the ACL injury, and we don't know if he's going to be. He said he'll be ready by July, but then Nick Caserio kind of said, hold the horses a little bit. We don't know if we're going to be ready for you yet. We don't know if you're gonna be ready. We just hold your horses on that. But they give him some time to get some feet up under him. He was a very reliable source and a very reliable target for Bryce Young, Heisman Trophy winner, and I think he could be a reliable target in the NFL. Once he gets the ball in his hands, he's an absolute playmaker. I like what I see when you watch the tape. I like it even more. I know Ray, when we was on stream, shout out to everybody on South Sports, shout out to my boy Ray. I know Ray was annoyed and did not like the pick. I know he wanted Pickens, the receiver out of Georgia. Him and Honcho both did. But when you watch this tape, I like Meacham a lot. And also, I think it's a hidden message behind it. I think they're laying down the groundwork when it comes to next year's draft and potentially targeting Bryce Young. Now, I think they probably wanted Chris Olave, and I think if Chris Olave would have failed to him at 15, they would have took him. But Chris Olave was taken at 11 before the Texans even came up at 13. I think that's part of the reason why the Texans decided to trade back. So since they couldn't get Chris Olave, I think Meacham was their consolation prize. Plus, the Texans have been rumored to be targeting Meacham for a couple months now, so I wasn't even surprised about this pick. So I think it has some laying down the groundwork for next year's draft to potentially pair him up with Bryce Young one more time. So we'll see exactly how that looks out, but I think he was a very reliable target. And like I said, the Texans decided to move up. Nick Caserio moved up. It just shows his aggressiveness when it comes to the draft. Then once again, he does it again, and we end up drafting the linebacker out of Texas. I'm not Texas, Alabama. Christian Harris, linebacker, who I think at one point played safety. I think he came into college football as a safety, and Nick Saban actually moved him to linebacker. A guy who can run sideline to sideline, another good tackler, very aggressive, and another guy who comes from Alabama, from a national championship pedigree. There's three guys out of their first 5 picks in Meacham, Harris, and Darius Stingley Jr. that has national championship pedigree. These 3 guys have won that. One with LSU, the other 2 with Alabama. Guys that have national championship pedigree. Also, a lot outside of the guy from Baylor has SEC ties as well. So it's a lot. It seems like Nick Caserio had a mindset, a potential target in the game plan. Then with his first pick in the 4th round, I think the second pick in the 4th round, they go out there and they get Dameon Pierce, the running back out of Texas A&M. Now, initially when the pick was made, back to the I would prefer Isaiah Spiller out of Texas A&M. I would have. But then watching the type of back he is, he's a bruiser. He's a big, look like a bowling ball. Kind of reminds me of a little bit of a bigger Carlos Hyde. Yeah, he kind of reminds me of a bigger Carlos Hyde. I think Carlos Hyde is faster than him, but he's bigger than Carlos Hyde as well. And a guy who's going to get tough yards. And it kind of makes sense, especially when you have a young quarterback like Davis Mills or potentially a young quarterback in the future, somebody who can get those tough yards. Somebody's going to get those tough those 2-and-3s, those 3-and-2s, those goal line situations. One of those big bruising type backs. You know, you see the highlight when the helmet pops off, he still runs somebody over, still trying to run. So it makes sense. I'm not mad at the pick. I'm really not. It makes sense. And also, Nick Caserio had a pattern that he could basically continue throughout the whole draft. Defense, offense, defense, offense. So he liked to spread the talent around. End up drafting, end up trading up and getting Thomas Booker, the DT out of was it North Carolina State? I think it was North Carolina State. I mean Stanford, that's what it was. It was Stanford. But a big defensive tackle, plug hole, somebody else rotation piece he got in the 5th round. Somebody else, once again, he jumped up and traded up to get. That's 3 times he traded up. That's 3 times. Meacham, Harris, and Thomas. He showed his aggressiveness. He showed how aggressive he was. He found the play, he targeted the play, and he went out and got that type of player. And you see with him and Lovey, I think it was the Harris pick. Him and Lovey, like that, how they embraced each other, they laugh and they hugging and stuff like that. After I think it was the Harris pick, they seem like they on the same page. And it seemed like he got people to match up this defense for Lovey Smith. You go out there, you plug up, you get a defensive tackle. Then in the 5th and the 6th round, he drafts a tight end out of the tight end out of Oregon State. He was what, I think 6'7". Really couldn't find no real tape on him, but you see he's a big guy. Seen a couple of little flash plays. Look like he's more so of a red zone target. And then they got the offensive tackle out LSU. Like I said, especially late offensive line. I'm not a good judge on them. So those 2 guys I really don't really have too much opinions on. But all in all, I like this draft a lot. It's possibly my favorite Texan draft outside of the draft that got Deshaun Watson. I know everybody that's sourness right now, but the reason why, I mean, that draft, you drafted a franchise quarterback. You knew it was your franchise quarterback when you drafted. Like, you drafted him, you knew he was your franchise quarterback. You felt that you had a superstar type quarterback. You felt like we was a quarterback away, and you felt good after that draft. So like until another situation like that presents itself, I don't know, it's kind of hard to top that moment how I felt after the draft. All the extra you talking about years later, that's all the river. I'm talking about the moment after the draft. The moment after this draft, I feel like this is the best draft I've ever seen. From top to bottom, from pick to player. I think it's the best draft the Texans ever had. And I have no complaints. Like, now I could be completely wrong. And all these guys can be busts. All these guys can be trash. Like they have, like Nick Caserio said, none of these guys even stepped on the NFL field yet. But I won't have any complaints. If these guys don't pan out, I'm not going to blame Nick Caserio. I'm not, because he targeted talent. He did his job. He targeted talent. He acquired talent. He didn't do anything stupid. He didn't do anything too hasty. I'm good with every pick, even the picks I don't even really know too much about. I'm still cool on, because you're not going to hit on every pick. I don't expect you. I mean, it'd be wonderful if you hit on all 9 of your picks, but I don't expect you to hit on all 9 of your picks. And to hear what Nick Caserio said after, these guys don't pan out, that's fine. We just go out and get some other guys. These guys don't work, we just go out and get some more guys. Like, okay, he's targeting this thing. He's targeting this thing like an actual general manager. He's talking things like, okay, this is what I'm doing. Very strategic, very game plan. He has an actual game plan. And that's something that the Texans actually haven't looked like they had for the past couple of years. I don't remember. I think Brian Gaines possibly had one. And Bill O'Brien didn't allow him to execute it, because I think Brian Gaines' game plan was a little bit too long. And Bill O'Brien was ready to win now, because like, coaches are ready to win now. General managers want to win. They want to win now, obviously, but they want to stretch things out. So when you got a coach that's been here for so long, and that's the problem when you have coaches that have longer tenures than the general managers. That's because especially if they haven't won, that's different. If the head coach is now in the hot seat, they've won games, things like that. I mean, one division title. I mean, one Super Bowls and things like that. They not feeling that pressure. When somebody like Bill O'Brien, that all he has done, it has won all he's done is one divisional title. Haven't even won playoff games. Only won one playoff game at that time against the Connor Cook Oakland Raiders. And been this for so long, you had your franchise quarterback. You ready to win. You don't want to hear about a long term plan. That's how I think Brian Gaines actually had a long term plan. He wasn't able to get a chance to execute said plan. In this situation, Lovie Smith, this is year one for Lovie Smith. This is basically year two for Nick Caserio, but really year one where he actually gets a full draft. He actually gets a full draft, and you give him like hey, shout out to Wise. Wise been saying this for a long time. You gotta let him get his draft in. You gotta give him and Ray Ray both. You gotta let him get his draft in. Now, I was against it. I'll be the first one to tell you I was against it, but I'm cool right now because seeing what I seen this past weekend, I'm okay with this plan that he has. I already knew it was going to be a 2-3 year plan. I already knew it was going to be a 3 year plan. And one, you had to get rid of Deshaun Watson. You had to get the draft capital when it comes to that. And I wasn't annoyed about the actual draft capital that we got back from Deshaun Watson. Because if you want to nitpick some things, the pick that you traded up to get Metchie was the Cleveland Browns second round pick, and you actually gave Cleveland back their third or their fourth. They gave you in the Deshaun Watson trade, the trade up to get this two pick. So it kind of back to what I said. If that was the case, what you should have kind of did was get the number 2 pick when you made the Deshaun Watson trade. But you also don't know who was going to be on the board, and that's the difference. Reason why you decided to trade up, because you seen how the board was falling. You seen how receivers were flying off the board like that. Receivers and DBs are flying off the board in this draft. Like I knew it was going to be a run on corners, and I knew it was going to be a run on receivers. I didn't feel like it's going to be the way it was. Like how you seen Booth did go to damn near the end of the second round, or if it might have been the end of the second round. I can't remember exactly what, but it was like a lot of corners went after Booth. Went before Booth. And you see all the receivers that was going up. I mean, you seen like in round one, you seen Drake London go top 10. I did not expect Drake London to go top 10. So you seen New Orleans jumps up to get Chris Olave and things like that. So when you see those type of moves and you see those type of things going on, that it kind of changes the reason why Nick Caserio felt like he needed to jump up to go out there and get Meacham. But like I said, that pick itself, in hindsight 2020, you be like, okay, you might could should have got that pick in Deshaun Watson trade. And speaking of that, Deshaun Watson made the right decision. Like, did Deshaun Watson judge Nick Caserio too prematurely? Because I know some of y'all saying, well, if Deshaun Watson's team, you don't have to trade the same capital. That's true for the most part. You still think still the third pick in the draft. Because, I mean, you had third pick in the draft when Deshaun Watson led the league in passing. You just didn't get a chance to use it because you gave it to Miami, but that was the third pick in the draft was that same season. But Nick Caserio needs to get more credit. He does. But he needs to get more credit. And like I said, Deshaun Watson was ready. Deshaun Watson asked for a trade before Nick Caserio even hired David Culley. Now you can't excuse Nick Caserio for hiring David Culley, but part of the reason why he hired David Culley was because of the whole Deshaun Watson debacle. Like if Deshaun Watson doesn't say anything, I don't think the Texans hired David Culley last year. I don't think that's the case. And I think that maybe this last year and a half will be a little bit different. Obviously, it'll be a little bit different if Deshaun Watson was on the roster still. But I think head coaches have been targeted a little bit. I think things would have changed for a little bit. And I know this hindsight 2020. I understand all that. And I'm not excusing that. But I'm just saying, I just wonder. I really just wonder. I wonder how Deshaun Watson's feeling right now. I mean, I'm pretty sure he cool. He got $230 million, and Cleveland is actually a talented team, even though you stuck in Cleveland, Ohio. But no, like Nick Caserio look like he knows what he's doing. I still feel like he needs to find a quarterback, and obviously you don't need to find one this year's draft. And quarterbacks did not go none the second. You only got one in the first round. That was Kenny Pickett's. None win the second round, and they didn't start going to the third round, which they probably was prime for them to go. We'll see what they do next year in the coming year, but I'm very excited about this draft class. Extremely excited about this draft class. I think Nick Caserio gets an A for me. Nick Caserio gets an A from top to bottom of this whole entire draft. And I know he said he don't really care about grades because none of these guys have touched on the field. I understand that, but for me personally, from the evaluation standpoint, I think you hit because I think you hit actual star players. I do. I think you have 3 to 4 legitimate starters, day one starters, and I think you have 3 day one starters. I think your first 3 picks are day one starters. I think you have 2 stars in Pitre and obviously Derek Stingley Jr. And I think Meacham is going to be a reliable player, especially if you get somebody like Bryce Young in there. I think he's going to be Mr. Reliable for him. I don't know if he's ever going to be a superstar receiver, but he's going to be a very reliable, very solid, reliable receiver going forward. And I think the Texans rebuild is going in the right direction. I really do. I think it's going in the right direction. Like I said, Nick Caserio, and you get applause from me. Like I said, you're not getting no complaints from them when it comes to the draft. And none of these players, I'm not, oh, you should have never drafted. I'm not going to be saying that with none of these guys. And I can't wait. I'm extremely excited for the season coming up. I can't wait for training camp. I can't wait for not pro days, for preseason football. I can't wait for none of that. I really can't. And hey, some other stuff gonna be in store. Like some other sauce events are gonna be in store. So y'all, like I said, man, y'all keep your eyes open, your ears open. I know we told y'all late about the whole crafty crab. We told y'all a little bit late. That's our fault. I apologize for that. We'll let y'all know sooner because some other stuff is on the horizon. But I'm gonna keep that to myself. Y'all like, share, subscribe. Y'all comment below if you haven't clicked that bell. Get more videos. I'll holla.